While cutting the birthday cake, my brother joked, "Guess they invited you out of pity." My aunt didn't laugh. She just asked, "Pity? Is that why she covered the entire bill?" Suddenly, everyone looked at me. I, 32M, never thought a birthday party would be the moment everything changed. Not my birthday, my brother's. He was turning 35, and somehow, I was still expected to show up and smile like we were a normal family. The invitation came through a group text. My mother wrote something generic about family being important and how we should all be there. I stared at my phone for a solid 10 minutes before responding with a thumbs-up emoji. That felt like enough effort for people who had spent the last decade making me feel invisible. Growing up, I was the younger son who never quite measured up. My brother was the golden child, the one who got into a good college, landed a corporate job, married the right kind of woman. I went to community college, worked my way through a trade certification, and started my own small contracting business. To my family, that translated to failure. Every holiday gathering, every family dinner, there were subtle digs about when I was going to get a real job, when I was going to settle down, when I was going to be more like my brother. The party was at a restaurant downtown, one of those trendy places with exposed brick and overpriced appetizers. When I walked in, I could already feel the weight of judgment. My mother gave me a tight hug that felt more performative than genuine. My father nodded in my direction. My brother's wife gave me that pitying smile she always did, like I was some charity case they had to tolerate. My aunt was there too, my mother's older sister. She had always been different from the rest of them. She asked real questions about my business, remembered details from previous conversations, treated me like I actually mattered. She waved me over to sit next to her, and I was grateful for the buffer. The dinner started normally enough. People ordered drinks, made small talk, laughed at jokes that were not quite funny. I stayed quiet mostly, nodding along, counting down the minutes until I could leave. Then the cake came out. Everyone gathered around as the servers brought out this elaborate three-tiered thing covered in fondant and gold leaf. My brother stood there grinning while people took photos. Someone started singing Happy Birthday, and I joined in because not doing so would have caused more drama than it was worth. After he blew out the candles, my brother picked up the knife and made this big show of cutting the first slice. Then he turned to me, and I saw that look in his eyes, the one that meant he was about to say something he thought was hilarious, but would really just be cruel. He announced that he was glad everyone could make it, even me, and that he guessed they invited me out of pity. The table went silent. A few people gave uncomfortable laughs, the kind that come when you do not know if something is a joke or an insult. I felt my face get hot. My hands clenched under the table. Before I could say anything, my aunt's voice cut through the awkwardness. She asked what he meant by pity, and whether that was why I had covered the entire bill for the party. Everyone's head turned toward me. The silence shifted from uncomfortable to confused. My brother's smile faltered. My mother's expression went from forced pleasantness to something I could not quite read. My father actually looked up from his phone. My aunt continued, saying she had seen me talking to the restaurant manager when I arrived. She asked if I had taken care of everything. I had not planned on telling anyone. 3 weeks earlier, my mother had called me in a panic. She explained that they had booked this restaurant for my brother's birthday, but there had been some financial issues. My father's company had gone through layoffs, and while he was still employed, things were tight. She asked if I could help contribute to the dinner costs. Her voice had that desperate edge that made it hard to say no. I told her I would take care of it. I called the restaurant, got the estimate for the party of 15 people, and paid the entire amount up front. It was not a small number, nearly $4,000 once you factored in the food, drinks, cake, and service charges. My mother had been so relieved. She thanked me repeatedly and promised she would pay me back when things got better. But sitting there at that table, with my brother's cruel joke hanging in the air and everyone staring at me, I realized she had never told anyone. My brother had no idea. None of them did except my aunt, who somehow figured it out. I confirmed that yes, I had paid for the entire party. My voice came out steadier than I expected. My brother's face went through several emotions: confusion, disbelief, embarrassment. He asked why I would do that. The question irritated me. I told him I did it because our mother asked me to, because apparently their finances were stretched thin, and because family was supposed to help each other out. My mother jumped in quickly, saying I did not have to make a big deal about it. She used that tone she always did when she wanted to smooth things over and pretend everything was fine. She said it was very generous of me, but we did not need to discuss money at a birthday party. But I was done smoothing things over. I looked directly at my brother and told him I found it interesting that he felt comfortable making jokes about pity while eating food and drinking wine that I paid for. I said maybe before he decided to humiliate me in front of everyone, he should have checked with our parents about who was actually keeping this party afloat. His wife tried to intervene, saying I was being dramatic. She insisted it was just a joke and that I was too sensitive. That was typical. Turn it around. Make me the problem. I asked her if she thought financial humiliation was funny. I asked if she would laugh if someone made jokes about her while she was unknowingly spending their money. She went quiet. My father finally spoke up and said this was not the time or place. He suggested we all calm down and enjoy the evening. But I was past calming down. For years, I had swallowed their comments, their condescension, their complete dismissal of everything I had accomplished. I had built a business from nothing. I employed 6 people. I owned my home outright. But because I did not wear a suit to work and did not have a fancy job title, I was somehow less than. I stood up and told them I was leaving. My mother grabbed my arm and begged me not to make a scene. I told her the scene was already made when her golden child decided to mock me in public. I said I was tired of being the family punching bag, the one they looked down on but had no problem turning to when they needed money. My aunt stood up too and said she was coming with me. My mother looked stricken, and several other relatives started talking at once, trying to de-escalate. But my aunt was firm. She told them they should be ashamed of themselves for how they treated me and that she had watched it happen for too long. We left together. In the parking lot, she hugged me properly and told me I had done the right thing. She said standing up for yourself is never wrong, even when people try to make you feel guilty for it. We went to a diner and had pie, and she told me stories about my mother when they were kids, about how she had always cared too much about appearances and status. The next few days were a storm of messages. My mother called repeatedly, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to angry. She said I had ruined my brother's birthday and embarrassed the family. She said I should have just let it go. My father sent a text saying I had overreacted and that I owed my brother an apology. That one made me laugh out loud. My brother did not contact me at all for the first week. Then I got a message from him late one night. He said he had not known I paid for the party and that if he had known, he would not have made that joke. But he also said I had humiliated him in front of his friends and family, and that was not okay. He thought we were even and should just move on. I did not respond. The idea that we were even, that his years of condescension somehow balanced out with one moment of public embarrassment, was absurd. 2 weeks after the party, my mother showed up at my house unannounced. She looked tired, older somehow. She said we needed to talk. I let her in, mostly because I was curious what she had to say. She sat at my kitchen table and admitted she should have told everyone I paid for the party. She said she was embarrassed about their financial situation and did not want people to know they needed help. She thought it would be easier to just let it be a quiet thing between us. She did not think my brother would make a joke like that. I pointed out that she should have thought about it because he always made jokes like that. For years, he had been taking shots at me, and she had always brushed it off as sibling rivalry or told me not to be so sensitive. She had never once defended me or told him to stop. She started crying then, saying she knew she had not been fair to me. She said she was proud of me and what I had built, but she had a hard time showing it because it was so different from what she understood. Her world was corporate jobs and traditional success markers. My path was foreign to her, and she did not know how to relate to it. I asked her why she had never tried to learn, why she had never visited my office, never asked to see projects I was working on, never showed any interest in the thing I had poured my life into. She did not have a good answer for that. She said she wanted to make things right. She wanted us to be a family again. I told her I was not sure what that looked like anymore. I said trust was not something that could be rebuilt with one conversation, especially after years of being treated like I was less than. She asked what I wanted from her. I told her I wanted basic respect. I wanted her to stop comparing me to my brother. I wanted her to acknowledge that my success was just as valid as his, even if it looked different. I wanted her to stand up for me when people made comments instead of telling me to let it go. And I wanted my brother to genuinely apologize, not a half-hearted text that blamed me for his embarrassment. She promised she would talk to him. She said she would do better. I told her I would believe it when I saw it. A month passed. My brother finally called. He said he was sorry for what he said at the party and that he had not realized how his comments over the years had affected me. He said he was dealing with his own stuff. work stress, financial pressure, the reality that his perfect life was not as perfect as it looked. He admitted he had probably taken some of that out on me because it was easier than dealing with his own issues. I appreciated the honesty, but I told him an apology was not enough. I needed to see changed behavior. I needed him to actually treat me like an equal, not someone he could casually disrespect whenever he felt like it. He agreed to try. We started having coffee once every few weeks. The conversations were awkward at first, but gradually they got easier. He started asking about my business, and I could tell he was genuinely curious rather than just being polite. He told me about the problems he was having at work, about how his company was restructuring and his job security was shaky. The golden child image was cracking, and underneath was just a guy trying to figure things out like everyone else. My parents made more of an effort too. My mother visited my office and met my employees. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. My father admitted he did not understand what I did, but he could see I was good at it, and that was what mattered. Small steps, but they were something. The whole experience taught me something important. For years, I had let their perception of me dictate how I felt about myself. I had internalized their judgment and let it make me feel smaller than I was. But that moment at the party, when my aunt forced the truth into the open, it shifted something. I realized I did not need their validation. I had built something real, something I was proud of, and their inability to see that was their limitation, not mine. There are still difficult days. Family dynamics do not change overnight. But I stopped accepting scraps of respect and started demanding what I deserved. And the people who really cared about me stepped up. The ones who did not, well, they showed me exactly where I stood in their priorities. My aunt and I are closer than ever. She told me she spoke up that night because she was tired of watching them treat me poorly and even more tired of watching me accept it. She said sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is refuse to let them be diminished. I framed that advice and hung it in my office. It reminds me every day that knowing your worth is not arrogance, it is survival. The birthday party became a turning point, not because it solved everything, but because it forced everyone to stop pretending. My brother could not pretend he had not been cruel. My parents could not pretend they had treated me fairly, and I could not pretend that staying silent was protecting me. Sometimes people need to be confronted with their behavior before they will change it. Sometimes families need to fall apart a little before they can rebuild into something healthier. And sometimes the person who pays for the party is not the one anyone expects. I still help my family when they need it. But now it is on my terms, with clear boundaries and mutual respect. I am not the family punching bag anymore. I am just a guy who built a good life, runs a successful business, and refuses to be small to make other people comfortable. And honestly, that is the best revenge of all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.